afternoon, everyone. Well, good afternoon for those kind of in the middle part of the world. Good morning for those to the west of me. And then good late night for those down under. It's 1:30 p.m. here in the UK. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. I think that covers everybody. Okay, so we're sticking with the Sebastian Rogers case today because, oh dear, right, Chris Profoot, Sebastian's stepdad, has responded to Seth's latest interview on Betty. He's responded. So we're going to talk about that. I do have hay fever this morning. Or rather, I had hay fever this morning. So grass allergy. Came back from my walk and I thought, the pollen's really high. I'm going to be sneezing. I'm going to be rubbing my eyes all day. And yeah, I absolutely am. I would have been live earlier, but I fell asleep. I had to take antihistamines. I normally take antihistamines at night, which kind of then cover me for the following morning, because they make me really drowsy. So I had to take some more antihistamines to calm it all down, and I fell asleep. So that's why I'm a little bit later than I normally am. Anyhow, it has calmed down a bit. But if I start having some sneezing fits, then I'll mute as much as I can. Did I step on the grass? Yeah, well, I walked through a wheat field, but a lot of the wheat died because we had so much rain. A lot of the wheat died, and there's a lot of grass, actual grass. I mean, I know wheat's a grass, but actual grass. And yeah, I could see the pollen coming off. It's like, oh no. Anyhow, when the farmer harvests, half his crop is just going to be regular grass. So it's when grass goes to seed. Like grass on your lawn's fine for me, unless it grows really long and it starts to seed, and then it's a problem. So things like, mowing a lawn doesn't bother me. Anyhow, let's get going. I'm going to say a few hellos, and I want to publicise 2 other missing cases just briefly. I don't have very much information about either of them. I have checked, and I don't think either of these young people have been found yet. Hopefully it will be good news for both of them, but I just want to publicise their cases. Yeah, the wheat emoji going on in there. Anyway, let's say a few hellos. Hello, Holly, listening while gardening. I think I'd better stay inside for the rest of the day, to be honest. Namey Rose, hello. Pincho, got no chocolate till Thursday. Oh no. Hello, Mike, Heather Feather, Crazy Linda, Miss T, Krista, hello. Liplock No More, who's getting hooked on the being live every morning. Yeah, I'm making a habit of it, aren't I? Hello, Karen, down under with love. Late night here. Yeah, I bet it is. What else have we got? Sue, Vi Hayes, Scott, hello. Angie Baby. Osland, hello from Norway. Cool. Jeannie, sorry. Pamela. That's Neela. Cat Lover. Ginger Girl. Robin. Tori. All right. Hello, everyone. All right. Going. Let's start with this young man. So this is Kyle Phillips. Kyle Phillips has been missing since last night. Now, this is from Gwent Police, and it doesn't say what condition he's suffering from, but it does indicate that he's very, perhaps, vulnerable. So, 16 years old, was last seen leaving an address in Caerphilly, which is in Wales. And officers are concerned for his welfare. So this is Kyle, 16 years old. There's not very much information about him at all. But Gwent Police are appealing for information to find Kyle Phillips. He was last seen leaving an address in Caerphilly around 5:25 p.m. last night, 31st of May. He's believed to be wearing a grey/white vest top with the number 10 on the back, grey shorts, and he isn't wearing shoes, but apparently he does have socks on. He's slim with fair hair. If you see Kyle, please do not approach because he may not understand or realise that people are trying to help. So it's that sentence that makes me concerned that he's a very vulnerable teen. I don't know whether he's got learning difficulties or I don't know. But, 16-year-olds normally, if they're missing, they don't tell you not to approach them. So I don't know what's going down with Kyle, but it is very concerning. So anyone with information is asked to call 999 or send a direct message on social media quoting log reference 2400178727. So that's 16-year-old Kyle Phillips from Caerphilly in Wales. And then we've got another missing Tennessean. So this young lady is missing out of Wilson County in Middle Tennessee. Now, she's been missing since Wednesday. And as far as I can tell on social media, she hasn't been found yet. So authorities in Middle Tennessee are searching for a young girl who has been missing since Wednesday. The Wilson County Sheriff's Office says 15-year-old Frenchelle Cablano walked away from her home on Cherokee Drive sometime between 7:30 and 9 a.m. on Wednesday. So she's been missing since Wednesday morning and she hasn't been heard from since. She's described as a Filipino female, standing 5'5", weighing 110 pounds with brown hair. She was last seen wearing a black t-shirt with yellow writing. So again, there's not a lot of information at all about this young woman. Anyone with information on her whereabouts should call the Sheriff's Office at 615-444-1412. So that's Frenchelle Cablano, 15 years old, out of Wilson County in Middle Tennessee. Okay, hopefully both Frenchelle and Kyle will be found safe and sound. Okay, let's move over to Sebastian now. All right. So this happened overnight my time. This is on Cluminati's channel. And Cluminati and guests were going through Seth's interview, Seth and TikTok Tony, on Bullhorn Betty's channel. Chris came on, Chris Profoot, and he was so kind towards Seth. So kind. I honestly don't know how he's holding it together. Because he could have gone off. And who would have blamed him? He could have gone off on Seth. But he didn't. He didn't. And he had it was a really good discussion. So I'm going to play a little bit of it. I strongly recommend it. Chris came on. So it's a long live here. What's that? I'm starting at 3 hours and 39. He came on a little bit before that. Wilson County borders Sumner County. Yeah, it's Middle Tennessee, so it's like in the Nashville area. Feels some kind of app that these kids are using and somebody's telling them to come out of the house. Don't know. Because Kyle Phillips, the 16-year-old from Caerphilly, is in the UK. Yeah, everyone in this case has got to be exhausted. I bet they are. I bet they are. It's because Seth is another man, not a woman or a child. Does that matter? Would that matter if you were mad? Like, who would blame him if he came out, you know, and blasted Seth to defend Katie? Who would blame him? Yeah, Chris has gone from the zero to the hero real quickly. It's crazy, isn't it? Oh, hold on a minute. Someone at the door. It's probably just a delivery. Please hold. Hey, I'm back. These are addressed to Tilly, so I'm guessing this is from my P.O. box. So I wasn't expecting a delivery. Let me just open the packet and see what we've got. Very quickly become an unboxing video. So we've got a toy octopus. We've got a toy duck. Cassie would prefer a real duck if someone could send her a real duck. Maybe it's chocolate. And it's daily dental treats. There's no note in this, I don't think. Oh yeah, there is. Hold on a minute. Oh, it's just a receipt. So I don't know who sent these. There's no name on it. But thank you to the person who has sent some daily dog treats, dental treats, a toy duck, and a toy octopus. Thank you so much. I'll put them to one side. All right. Without further ado, let's get going. Off-topic question. Would your pups be a good companion for a person who is blind with physical disabilities? My pups, my dogs, probably wouldn't recommend getting a dog like a dog like Tilly. Definitely not. Cassie, depends what the physical disabilities were. Cassie's probably too energetic. Noodle would be a great companion for someone because he doesn't require a lot of exercise and he's very calm unless he sees another dog and then he's nuts. His dog's a pit and he's deathly afraid of ducks and turkeys. Oh no. Oh no. Well, I used to have a collie way back in the day when I was young, and her mother was a sheepdog, like an actual sheepdog, like a herding dog. And Ginty was terrified. She was terrified of sheep, cows, horses, like the worst herding dog in the world. Oh, a blind dog. No, a person who is blind with physical disabilities. I can't see Tilly being good with a blind person. No, she wouldn't be. I mean, it's not so much that they're blind, it's the physical disabilities. She's too big and bouncy. And Cassie's probably too energetic. No, a blind dog that you give to blind people. He's like Sebastian and his brain fluid has changed and he has gotten old, so now has limited movement on the left side of his body. I would say a dog like Noodle would be fine. Like a dog that doesn't require a great deal of exercise and a dog that is quite calm. My old dog is half Kelpie. She tried herding my horses and it didn't go down well. All right. Okay, so I'm starting this at 3 hours 39, but Chris does come on a little bit before this. So I'm going to play a little bit of it. It's on Cluminati's channel. And Chris gave some interesting information. He started answering some questions and gave some interesting information. So the link to this is in the description box for replay viewers, and I'm going to put the link in the chat just in case you want to go and listen to it without my commentary. All right, I'm not watching the chat now because I'm getting lots of dog comments. And I'm distracted. I'm getting really distracted by all the dog comments. Oh, Catahoula leopard dog. They're great dogs. They're strikingly good dogs. Strikingly beautiful dogs. Yeah, almost every other channel is infighting. I know, it's ridiculous. Especially when there's good information out there. Will it help find Sebastian? Not necessarily, no, but it's at least factual information about the case rather than creator on creator fighting, which won't help anybody. Won't help anybody at all. Okay. Let me know that you can hear this all right. So Cluminati is on the panel with someone called Sarge, who's just come on. I don't know Sarge. But he's sounds interesting, and he asks some good questions. You hear me, but can you hear this when I press play? That's what I want to know.
Well, I'm doing, fantastic. I usually am. I'm awesome. Tell him, Cliff.
Yeah, he's always awesome. I mean,
well, any day you're not pushing daisies, is a good day, right?
I don't even know if pushing daisies would be a bad day. There's got to be something after this, so I suspect it's just another step in our life. I don't really look at it as something bad. I think it's just an experience we'll all have at one time or another, right?
True, that is true.
Oh, those look good. Thank you, baby.
She's getting all the smileys.
All right, can you hear that? All right. Okay. So this guy called Sarge has just come on. He's they're just small talking, but they quickly get back to the actual conversation.
Look at all that money she got in her tip jar. Damn. Have you seen me and Cletus struggle?
What do you mean struggle?
We're over there. We're just beating up on all the viewers, Chris. You notice that? The 5.62 billion fucking morons that run around on social media. All these people solving crimes from their cell phone, accusing people that shouldn't even be part of their, come off their fucking lips.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of cussing in this. I might just warn you. There's a little bit of cussing in it. Oh, I just actually looked down at my lap, and there is a name on these gifts. It had just fallen out and had been sat in my lap. So this is a gift from Seashore Annie. For all the smiles you bring. Thank you. Tilly, you're a joy. Ah. So it was actually a little note to Tilly. Thank you so much, Seashore Annie. If you're in the chat, thank you.
I just find the sadness of what's happened with the tragedy of your missing son.
Sarge,
the sadness that's been thrown in is just insane.
Sarge, please don't ever say "come off your lips" again, ever.
Oh yeah, get your come off my lips.
That was great.
Oh my god, that's just that stuff. You're a sicko, Clue.
I know.
Oh man, so are you still lifting stuff high up in the air there, Chris?
Oh yeah. We got some weather in tonight, so we're not really running too much. But yeah,
I had when I was a young man, I was on my own at 14, and I am on the spectrum with Asperger's. And at the age of 14, when I was on my own, there were
you said Asperger's, not Asperger's, right?
Yeah, I'm an ass, and I do eat burgers, but they come from ground beef. You don't want to get us started on that.
Please don't start on that. Please do not do that.
You'll never get out of here.
I promise to get serious in a minute.
Oh my god.
Anyway, he was a crane operator. They called him Davy Drop, and he was part of a demolition company. And he did all the crane work for the demolition company, and all these big buildings that were, everything had to be protected on the banks of the river, down in the middle, surrounded by other buildings. They had to go in and disassemble the building piece by piece. So yeah, it was kind of neat. I used to run around in the little bobcats, and I used to operate some of the stuff that he would have, those big movers, the crawlers, and the big shovels. Yeah, it was kind of cool. Yeah. I never got into that heavy ass work. I got into management for my life. I decided long ago I wasn't going to have anything to do with manual labor. I let Clue do that shit.
Who's speaking? So it's on Cluminati's channel, and it's someone called Sarge. I don't know him, but he's got, they don't call it Asperger's anymore. It's just all part of the autistic spectrum now, certainly from the DSM. So they don't differentiate between autism and Asperger's, which is a form of autism. So they've kind of got rid of the name Asperger's. So everybody who's got an autism diagnosis is now on the same spectrum. But people with Asperger's are high functioning. So this guy, Sarge, he's autistic. But they do get serious in a minute. And Sarge has a channel with Clue's fiance. Does he? Okay. I didn't know that. So you've got Cluminati and her fiance who comments in the background. And then Sarge is talking to Chris. But they do get serious in a minute.
Oh my God. Well, I'm glad we met. I don't even know what to say when it comes to discussing your son. That's just unimaginable. And, I'm sorry that people have put you guys through more pain and agony than anyone deserved. On top of the fact that their son is gone, that can't even be comprehensible to me.
Well, I mean, I get more upset when they go after my wife and go after my family. They have no business doing that. Like I said, you need a monster for your narrative. Sure, paint me, but leave everybody else alone.
Yeah, I can agree with that, but I just can't see past the facts. And once the facts tell you a story, you got to move on and look for new facts, man.
Yeah,
it's.
There's one thing that just baffles everybody, and it doesn't matter who it is, what their opinion is, but how did he disappear with no trace?
Yeah.
I do have a question for you, Chris. We haven't got there in this interview, but something Seth said was super weird to me. I don't believe it because I've listened to all the pressers, but he says something about the cops saying there's no evidence Sebastian ever left the house.
Okay, so I made this comment in my live stream yesterday that somewhere in Bullhorn Betty's interview, and before I went live and I picked out the timestamps that I wanted to talk about, I was trying to find that where Seth said that. He said that the cops had told him that Sebastian never left the house. And I couldn't find it. And I was like doubting myself. Like, did I really hear that? I can't find it in the entire interview now. But clearly it was there because Cluminati has mentioned it. But they've not got that far in the interview. So it must be they're like about halfway through the interview when Chris came on. So it must be in the second half of the interview. So at least I know roughly where to go and find it now. But it's not true. The cops have not said that. They've never said that. They have said that they believe, like it's their working theory, that he left the house, that he walked away from the house. That's what they've said. So Chris clearly either misunderstood or intentionally lied. I'm hoping it's just a misunderstanding on Seth's part, but Cluminati asks Chris about that, what he thinks about that comment.
But I don't understand how that works when they say that he may have outwalked the search grid.
That's absolutely what they've said. That he may have outwalked the search area. They absolutely have said that. That's one of their theories, that the fact that they haven't found him. So in those first 8 days, they covered, like on the ground and also in the air using helicopters, drones, and a fixed-wing plane, they covered a 5-mile radius. So with the house being in the middle and then 5 miles in every direction. So it's a lot of area, but in that first 8 days, that's what they covered. Now, I've argued consistently now that I think he went north. But 5 miles to the north, just let me pop up the map here. 5 miles to the north, you're coming up to White House, the town of White House. So a 5-mile radius of Stafford Court takes you about there, roughly. This is on Google Maps. I've actually got it all plotted out on Google Earth, but I haven't. I have to like reshare my screen, and it's annoying. So they covered a 5-mile radius. Now White House is here, and that's beyond the search area. But they absolutely have said it, and they've said it more than once. I need to go and find all these quotes from law enforcement. I need to go and find them and put them all in one video. But one of their theories when they couldn't find him within this 5-mile radius was that maybe in that first night he outwalked. He went beyond 5 miles. And I've just been incredulous about law enforcement having this as a working theory, that perhaps he's outwalked the search area, but yet they didn't expand the search area. So why aren't law enforcement expanding the search area? Now, I know that they've got limited resources, and I know that, you know, they've got lots of other cases and whatever, but in 3 months, if they covered a 5-mile radius in 8 days, well, in 3 months, I'm pretty sure that they could have, you know, even with, you know, less people actually working on it, they could have at least covered some of the ground outside beyond that search area. I've always been incredulous about that. But anyhow, that is absolutely what law enforcement have said.
You know what I mean?
So Seth's saying there's no evidence that he left the house.
Correct.
Well, his missing
Okay,
is
so I mean, the 15-year-old child missing in itself is an evidence.
I don't know what he meant by that. It was like, it was a weird statement, right? Oh,
I mean, my guess is he's trying to say that there's no physical pieces of evidence to say that Sebastian didn't freely walk out of the house. Is that what he's trying to linger toward? I don't know.
I think so. I think that's what he's trying to. Ow.
Yeah, I when he said that, I thought that's what he was alluding to. That if law enforcement think that Sebastian never left the house, well, it means he never left the house voluntarily. Or he's still in the house, and we know he isn't in the house. There's no panic room, there's no secret room, there's no secret attic, there's no secret basement. That house has been searched more than 10 times, according to Ken Widener from Sumner County AMA. That house has been combed with infrared to look for, you know, spots of blood. It's been heat-seeking technology has been used, so you'd be able to tell if someone's like hiding behind a wall, you know, if there's a false wall in a hidden room, they'd be able to tell. There's no hidden room, there's no panic room, there's no hidden attic, there's no hidden basement, there's nothing. So he's not in the house. I mean, some people still think he's in that house, like being hidden in that house, but he's not. And then the other option is, well, he did leave the house, but he left involuntarily. You know, either spirited away in the middle of the night, or he was killed in the house and his body taken out. But that's more likely to have happened than being hidden in the walls of the house or in a hidden basement that doesn't exist. But I don't think that's likely, because law enforcement would know at what time Katie left. Yeah, no evidence he left the house doesn't mean he left the house. It means no evidence of tracks. Yeah, but there are tracks. Anyhow, however we interpret it, law enforcement haven't said it. So our interpretation, we can debate it to what that actually means, but it's not true anyway. Law enforcement never said that. At least they've never said it publicly. But I don't know.
You know,
True.
anybody that
Scoot
has
over.
too far.
Move your big fat ass head, Drew, for real.
What proof is there of anybody walking through a doorway? Uh-oh, here we are.
Well, I mean, if you have the camera that would show somebody physically walking out of a house, you would have.
All right, so this is really useful. This is interesting information. There is an echo. It's not from me though, so I don't please don't say there's an echo, there's an echo, there's an echo. I know there's an echo. It's on Clue's side. I think the new person who's joined the panel perhaps needs to turn off their YouTube. So Truth Not Feelings, who is a creator, has just joined the panel. So they need to turn off their YouTube, and the echo goes away very quickly. So it's not from my side, but this is very interesting. So Chris is explaining about the cameras situation that we've talked quite a lot about in recent days on this channel.
Have that proof.
Truth, you got to turn your YouTube off.
But once again, it does come right back to, you know, the camera that could see the front door picks up absolutely nothing during that time frame.
Okay.
Do you have an assessment of what door or how he exited the home? Any theory
Yes.
or idea of how he? Okay, maybe you can't share that with us, but if you can, that would be.
Well, you're asking what my thought is of how he or what happened. Sure, 15-year-old child walked out of the front door on his own free will, closed the door behind him, and has disappeared.
Right. And there is not a camera that would pick up that activity coming out of the front door. Is that fair?
No. I mean, there's a camera that points that direction, but absolutely, you do not see any, because it's so dark in our neighborhood. I mean, and I've stated that from the word go.
I think the cameras are offset though, the way the houses are built. They're not directly across the street from each other. There is an offset to the houses. There's different elevations.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So yeah, I could see that being real, that there's no camera. And I know from being out when I was 14.
All right. So again, I've talked about this quite a lot over the last few days. We've actually been down to ground level on this map to try and work out where the camera is that saw Sebastian taking out the trash on Sunday evening. So we do know there is a video that was captured on a camera across the street that saw Sebastian. The camera caught him taking out the trash. So this is Sebastian's house, and he would have taken out the trash, kind of walking down the driveway and then leaving it at the end there, ready for the pickup. So the camera either had to come from this house or this house, and they are offset. So the camera obviously has to be at an angle. So I think it's from this house, personally, that would have been able to capture Sebastian. And I even did the measurements. So from that house where the camera might be to the end of the driveway, that's like 95 feet. So things like Ring doorbells are not gonna, even if, you know, they're triggered by something, the maximum, you know, the maximum point at which they will be triggered is 30 feet. So if it's a Ring doorbell, Sebastian would not have triggered it by taking out the trash. So it has to be a surveillance system that has, you know, a decent range to it. But the front door, which is here, is a whole different ball game, because in the middle of the night, it's very dark in that neighborhood. There's no street lights. And there's no like houses along here that have really big floodlights that would have lit the entire street up. So someone coming out this front door, unless like they turned all the lights on in the house, you know, and maybe if they'd turned all the lights on in the house, maybe there would have been enough light just to see a shadow. I have no idea. But without any light, the camera across the street is not going to see somebody walking out of that front door when it's dark. They might be able to see people walking out of the front door when it's light. So from here to here is like 95 feet. But if you're thinking about this, that same camera, you're looking at about, I don't know, 150, 160 feet. You know, it has to be a darn good camera to even pick up motion from that distance. And if it's this house, that's about 150 feet as well. So think about it. When it's pitch black, Sebastian was wearing black, and the camera's so far away, it's not going to pick him up, even if in the day it potentially would pick people up coming and going. So that's what they're talking about. And we've talked about that at length on this channel.
I did it. It was willingly, but anyway, so as I left, I ended up staying in cars, but I stayed close to my school so that I had the place to shower and eat. And then eventually, you know, friends in school and their families, they assisted me. But for quite a long time, I slept in a Chrysler Newport, one of them big ass from the 60s, big car. It was like a bedroom.
Boats.
Yeah, the back seat was as big as my bunk bed.
Mm-hmm.
So
you used to be able to crawl up in the back window over the back seat, and you could lay in that thing like it was a bed.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, not true. Smiling Sleuth. The cameras pick up anything in the dark. It's called night vision. It will pick him up. No. The point is, if it's a camera that's like a Ring doorbell, that kind of camera, motion that's further away than 30 feet won't trigger the camera. Whether or not it's got night vision is irrelevant. It's the range at which motion can be detected. Then if you've got a camera that does have a range greater than 30 feet, then the further away it is, the less likely, even with night vision, less likely it is to be triggered by a tiny speck. If the camera's 150 feet away, a tiny speck coming out of a front door from 150 feet away, when it's dark, even if that camera's got night vision, it would have to be spectacularly good camera to be able to pick that up. So you might just go away and think about that. If you think that a camera is that good, just a general, you know, household security camera. Yeah, the SF investigates. That's exactly what I've been saying. That detectives tested scenarios with the cameras in the neighborhood. So the FBI has tested those cameras numerous times, running mock scenarios to see what triggers a camera and what doesn't. I would assume they didn't trigger. Absolutely. So they did tests with cameras along Kelling Lane. I do know this. Walking up and down Kelling Lane to see whether the cameras on Kelling Lane would have picked up somebody, like if Sebastian had walked this way. And they didn't pick up detectives. So I'm assuming they also, you know, did tests at the house or walked in and out of the house to see whether the cameras across the street could pick them up. And under what circumstances would it pick them up? And I don't know the results of those tests, but I bet you any money that if they picked them up in the day, they didn't pick them up at night. Your doorbell can trigger on every movement, even 50 feet. Yeah, but if your Ring Right. Ring.com. So I'm guessing that your doorbell camera isn't a Ring doorbell camera, because on their website, it says the maximum range is 30 feet. So if you've got a camera that is triggered by motion 50 feet away, well, good for you. But these cameras are way more than 50 feet away. This camera from the house to the driveway is 95 feet. Now, we know that the camera that captured Sebastian taking out the trash does have a good range. It does. So it's not a Ring doorbell. It's, you know, some kind of security system that's better than a Ring doorbell. But at this side of the house, because at this side of the house where the driveway is, there are 2 lights over the top of the garage. So that would have given just a little bit of light. So can you see there's 2 lights there? So if you're coming down here, even when it's dark, you're going to get some light. And that might have just been enough for the camera to pick him up. But when you're going out of the front door, even in the day, you can see, even in the day, it's in shade. So when it's dark, it's the opposite side of the house to these lights that are over the top of the garage. So cameras either on this house or this house, 150 feet away, or even 90 feet away, not going to see somebody. Like, look, from this house or this house, look at the distance. So looking from, even in the day, you're not going to be able to see somebody coming out of that front door. It'd have to be an absolutely fantastic camera to capture a person coming out of that door when it's pitch black. Yes, the cameras were not triggered due to range. Thank you. Absolutely. Gamma, can't find a place to super chat. If you go down to the bottom where the chat function is, to the right of that, there's a $sign. So you click on that and then you can send a super chat. All right. I don't know why people are holding on. They're holding on to the hope that there has to be some kind of foul play on behalf of Katie because Sebastian wasn't caught on any cameras. These are very simple facts to learn. That's very simple. And you just have to apply a small bit of logic and common sense.
So I can relate to being young and being out and being homeless and then starting your life from there. But sadly, with Sebastian, the fact that there's no hiding or hair of him after he walked out that front door is just terrifying, and it's just unimaginable. And
why would she though, Pincho? This is my issue with the motive as to Katie hiding him with someone. What's the motive for her to do that? I don't understand what her motive will be if she just decided to allow someone to, you know, pick him up in the night and he went to live elsewhere with someone. What would the motive be? I don't understand. Because Seth has a gun. Well, Seth's always had a gun. So why would she hide Sebastian just because Seth had a gun? Seth's always had a gun. I don't understand anyhow. I just don't think it's, I don't think it's likely. There's no motive. There's no real motive behind it. I don't see why that, no. When did CP say what? Blissful. This is from last night. This is from 12 hours ago. Because Chris doesn't want Sebastian around. Yeah, but Sebastian was due to go and live with Seth. So again, why would Chris or Katie have disappeared Sebastian? If they were desperate to get rid of him, why wouldn't they just have said to Seth, right, Sebastian's coming to live with you now. We're not going to wait till May, till school is out. We need him to live with you now. Why did that conversation not happen? Because Sebastian was due to go and live with Seth once the school year had finished. So it doesn't make sense for them to go to that level of trouble just so that Sebastian wasn't living with them anymore. Doesn't make sense. Would they have to pay child support? No. There wasn't any child support on either side. So Seth wasn't paying them child support, and they wouldn't have to pay Seth child support because it was joint custody. So there wasn't, one side paying child support. So that's not even relevant. Not even relevant. So you can take that off as a motive.
I think that's really the I think that's what people are really scared about, and they've then directed their anger or concerns towards you and your wife unjustly, whether Seth led the way or not. I just find it tragic that these streamers didn't, like even with you. I mean, to interview somebody in a tragedy like this, I think it's only fair that the interviewer provide you with the questions and you guys have that conversation before you even come out in the public. Just because there's too many lunatics online nowadays that no matter what you do, they're going to find a way to impugn you, guilt you, shame you. It's just I'm so offended by it. It's just horrible.
The funny thing is even if you have the questions beforehand, you review them and you answer them, it isn't going to matter. People have their opinions. Still to this day, call me crazy, but the whole John Benet Ramsey and the Casey Anthony cases, and still don't have a clue on who did what and how it went down.
Right.
But everybody had their opinions, and they're still adamant, like, this is what it is. And
he's right. It doesn't matter what he says. It doesn't matter what he and Katie says. People have already made up their mind. So it doesn't matter what questions are asked, how it's answered. They're always going to be picking apart their words because they've already decided who the bad guys are, who the villain is, because this is just one big drama. And they've had a hero, Seth, and they've chosen their villain, Chris and Katie, regardless of what the facts are of the case, regardless. Personally think everyone should pass a psych eval in order to have a channel on YouTube. Yeah. Maybe. Seth literally spends his days with criminals and makes friends with lots of them. If he wasn't allowed to communicate with Katie before, he sure gets to communicate legally now. He was allowed to communicate with Katie before. I don't think there'd been I don't think there was a ruling by the court that he wasn't allowed to communicate. I don't know, though. The thing that makes me question the Profoot's is that they don't have security cameras and Katie installs them. In a home that nice, a wife and child alone often, it doesn't make sense. Well, maybe she didn't feel that they needed security cameras. Not everybody wants to have a security system in their house following them around all the time. And the neighborhood was very safe and very quiet. And like a whole bunch of the neighbors had a security system. So why would you need one? I mean, I don't know why they didn't have one, but, personally, I wouldn't have one. I wouldn't want one, whether I installed them or not. I want cameras following me around in my own house. It's spooky. It's creepy. That's my personal opinion, but no chance. I just don't like the idea of it. We are going round and round in circles. We are going round and round and round in circles, saying the same thing again and again. It doesn't matter what Chris says, but this conversation, once again, shows that Chris is prepared to communicate with people in a sensible, rational fashion and provide information, as much information as he's allowed to share. And he's not on this live stream, even though he could have done it. Blasted Seth. He had very kind things to say about Seth. You've no opinion on this case, but it's okay to be suspicious of the parents, as it is to think he just walked away, people. Well, it's fine to be suspicious of the parents. It's fine to be suspicious of the parents if there's evidence to suggest that the parents might have done something. But all of the evidence that we've got today, absolutely zero evidence that the parents, any of them, did anything. And we've got evidence to the contrary, in fact. So all the evidence we do have, as little as it is, and remember, the absence of evidence is important as well. The absence of evidence in this case is crucial to understand. And the absence of evidence against the parents and the evidence towards Sebastian actually just walking away is way stronger than any of these cockamamie theories that people have come up with. So it's fine to be suspicious of the parents if there's evidence suggesting that they are suspicious, but there isn't any in this case other than in people's minds. Just DM me on Twitter, SF. I'll check that in a sec. Katie's on the spectrum too. I don't know. I don't know whether Katie's got an autism diagnosis. I wouldn't like to say. The evidence points for me to Katie hiding him. There's no evidence that Katie's hiding him. None. No evidence that Katie's hiding.
That's their opinions. They're entitled to those.
Yeah, but their opinions are only they are no longer opinions when they start taking pictures of where.
No, Olivia. Ellie said there's no evidence that he walked out of the house. No, Olivia, we've just talked about that. That's what Seth said, but Seth is wrong. Please show me where the cops said that there is no evidence that he walked out of the house, because they've said absolutely the opposite. So, Olivia B, please find me the press conference and the timestamp. So, go away and find it now and put it in the chat, because I want to see where law enforcement said that there is no evidence that he walked out of the house. That's your job, Olivia. Chop, chop.
Where you are and put them on the internet. That's a sickness. There's something wrong with people. That's what I mean. It's like the worst of us comes. I think what the internet does is it gives us a place to be the worst we can be. And
it does. It does. It magnifies everybody's flaws. Makes people dead brave to be a keyboard warrior, ruining someone else's life from behind a screen. That's what the internet allows people to do.
Forgetting that this particular magnificent tool of communication could probably have found or come to a conclusion with young Sebastian if people concentrate.
You look yourself before stating facts. I do look myself. When I state a fact, I bring the receipt. So, Olivia, you've made the claim. So it's now the burden is on you to provide me the evidence where law enforcement said Sebastian never walked out of the house. You made the claim, so it's up to you to show me the receipt. Any fact that I tell you, I provide the receipt. Where there's no receipt, it's not a fact. So, Olivia B, we're looking at you, girl. We're looking at you. You make the claim. You have the burden of proof. You have the burden to prove it. You will email me. No evidence he walked out. No, don't email me. Tell me the press conference and put the timestamp in the chat so I can play it right now. So I'm going to be on for a while. So go and do it now and come back with which presser it is and the timestamp.
Concentrated on that as their goal, rather than trying to find out Seth did it, Chris did it, Katie did it, their grandmother did it. For fuck's sakes, bro. But I think
did Ellie say Sebastian left the house? Yeah. I am over people spreading rumors. I am fed up. People looking for drama. All right. Okay. All right. Suppose I'm going to have to do it, Anna. Suppose I'm going to have to do it. All right. Sebastian Rogers press conference. So I played this in its entirety the other day. So this is, let me just find it. I think it's this one. All right. All right. So this is a press conference from of February. So Sebastian had been missing for 3 days. I think it's in this presser.
In your yard, check it every morning and check it every night. Look for any details.
Get to this breaking news right now. I'm Mark Kelly from the WKRN.com alert desk. We're expecting any moment right now an update on the search for that missing teenager, Sebastian Rogers. Let's listen in live.
Here in a few moments, I'll go through some slides and show you what we've done over the past 4 days of searching. Really wanted to come to the community and ask for your help. We need you to search your properties every day, morning and night. If there's a shed or a crawl space or up under your mobile home or a tarp that's in your yard, check it every morning and check it every night. All
right. Why would they be telling people to do that if they didn't think he'd left the house?
For any details that something has been disturbed. If there's a shirt that was there today that wasn't there yesterday, notify us. You can really help us by searching your own property twice a day. Like I said, we're operating under the assumption that Sebastian walked off, and we really need.
Oh, we're working under the assumption that Sebastian walked off. 49 seconds in. I didn't even have to listen to more than a minute. Shall we play that again, everyone? Let's play it again from the top.
Need your help to ensure that he is brought home safely.
Okay, and when Chief talks about searching your homes, if you
moments, I'll go through some slides and show you what we've done over the past 4 days of searching. Really wanted to come to the community and ask for your help. We need you to search your properties every day, morning and night. If there's a shed or a crawl space or up under your mobile home or a tarp that's in your yard, check it every morning and check it every night. Look for any details that something has been disturbed. If there's a shirt that was there today that wasn't there yesterday, notify us. You can really help us by searching your own property twice a day. Like I said, we're operating under the assumption that Sebastian walked off, and we really need.
We are working under the assumption that Sebastian walked off. Right. Show me, Olivia, if you're still there, show me the timestamp where they said, oh, we changed our mind. You know, initially we said that we were working under the assumption that Sebastian walked off, but now we've changed our mind because of this. And now we believe Sebastian never left the house. All right. Over to you. I've shown my evidence. Well, of course it's an assumption because it's a theory. They haven't found Sebastian. They don't know where he is. So they're working under the assumption that he walked off. That's their working theory. That's what I've been saying. They're working from the premise that Sebastian walked off because there's no evidence of anything else. The point here is that Olivia and Seth seem to think that cops have said that Sebastian never left the house. And actually, they've said completely the opposite. Olivia said evidence, not assumption. Olivia has the burden to prove where the cops said Sebastian never left the house. All right. So if the cops have said there is evidence that Sebastian never left the house, where is it?
You can agree on that. If people focused on the right thing and actually acted on it, we'd be much further along in trying to find out what happened to your son.
True. I concur and stand beside that right there with you. You know, I mean, the facts are the facts. Law enforcement has come out in a press briefing and said there's no evidence for us to suspect foul play on any of the parents. We've all been very cooperative from day one.
That's exactly what they said. All right, we'll play another clip. All right, we'll play. Oops. Hold on 1 second. So this is from, this is the last press conference they did. This was on April 2nd. So I'm going to take you to the Q&A with Eric Craddock once again on here. So that's the woman from the TBI. So we're going to go to the question and answer session of this press conference. Don't blame me about the volume. The volume is really low on this. It's just the way that it was recorded. So, all right.
The weather is rolling in. We've got time for some questions. So, yes, ma'am.
I was a few minutes behind, so sorry if I missed this, but has there been any indication at this point of foul play or anything of that nature?
There is no evidence to support foul play is involved in the disappearance of Sebastian.
There is no evidence. If you want the word evidence, there it is. There is no evidence to support foul play involved in the disappearance of Sebastian. Do you want to hear that again? All right.
There is no evidence to support foul play is involved in the disappearance of Sebastian.
But at this point, you don't rule it out.
There is no evidence to support foul play in the disappearance of Sebastian. So there's the word evidence. Moving on.
I think a lot of the skewness that is coming around is because you've got individuals that have decided to make things a lot worse, whether or not because of their emotions or money or whatever. You know,
I don't think it's a few people.
that.
I hate to break it to you, but it's
Now, that was from April the 2nd. That was the last presser. That was the last presser from April the 2nd. Now, it's the 1st of June now. So they haven't done a press conference for nearly 2 months. However, they have commented. So they've been sending comments via Nick Barris, like just small like clarifications. And the TBI have also put some facts out of the case on their own website. So once again, I've shown this numerous times, but it does appear that we have to keep showing it for those at the back who don't listen. They haven't updated since the 25th of April. So again, that's over a month. That was an update for the 2 months missing mark. So they didn't update for the 3rd month. I thought that they might. I thought the TBI might update for the 3rd month, but they haven't done. So it marks 2 months since Sebastian Rogers was reported missing. At that time, TBI agents from multiple units have been assisting the Sumner County, blah, blah, blah. Large-scale efforts searching on the ground, in water and from the air. The searches have included multiple local, state and federal law enforcements, including the FBI and Secret Service. Residents in the area have also conducted searches on their own properties in hopes of finding Sebastian, blah, 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 blah. So that was from April the 3rd. That was when they came back and did another search. But they just basically searched what they'd searched before. So let's skip down to the facts, question and answers. What areas have been searched? Within the first several days of the search, more than 2,000 miles were searched on foot. Many of these areas were initially searched and searched again. Law enforcement officers have searched the neighbourhood, surrounding neighbourhoods, schools, and many other areas of the county by foot. Bloodhounds and handlers have searched the same areas. There have been aerial searches with helicopter drones and a fixed-wing plane. These aerial searches have been conducted on multiple days and multiple nights using thermal imaging technology. Sebastian's residence, the yard, the house, the vehicles have all been searched multiple times. The neighbourhood where Sebastian lives has been canvassed. Neighbours' houses have been searched. Sebastian is autistic and his family says he's drawn to water. Pools in the neighbourhood were searched. Dive teams were brought in and bodies of water around the neighbourhood and beyond were searched, including caves. What about technology? Many neighbours and businesses have provided video from home and business surveillance systems. We are grateful for that cooperation. The video has been collected and from the beginning of the investigation has been analysed, enhanced, where possible, by tech experts with the TBI, FBI and Secret Service. To date, nothing gathered from these video systems has been determined to be significant. We do caution that some surveillance video, so that's the flashlights video, numerous search warrants have been executed, cell phone data has been analysed, and any other available digital evidence has been collected, searched and documented. Information was collected from Sebastian's gaming system and has been analysed. With help from the FBI, vehicles that were placed in the area at or around the time of Sebastian's disappearance have been accounted for. So if Katie did a Swiftie in the middle of the night to go and hide Sebastian somewhere, her vehicle at some point would have been spotted. All the vehicles moving around that area have been accounted for. These videos and all electronic evidence have been reviewed and is often being re-investigated. So the search for Sebastian has not stopped. Every day tips come in, blah, blah, blah. All right, so telling local residents to continue to check their properties. If they didn't think Sebastian had walked off and was in the area, they wouldn't still be asking local residents to search their properties. All right, moving on.
It's the viewer. I know scumbags that Seth.
Her vehicle was spotted in the morning looking for Sebastian. I know. It was looking for Sebastian. The cops were there when she was out looking for him. The cops were there. We hear it on the surveillance video. We hear it. The mother is out in a baby blue Infinity. We hear it on the dispatch, the dispatch audio. We hear it. We know. They know where Katie was. So that's when she took him out. Come on now. So she'd gone out looking and she called the cops at the same time. Come on now. Stop being silly. You're just clutching at straws. Clutching at straws instead of looking at the most simplest solution to this, which is there's no evidence. There's no evidence that the parents did anything whatsoever to Sebastian or are involved in any way in his disappearance. Hold on, just let me plug my computer in or else I'm going to lose you. There we go. Oh, thank you, Gypsy Trails, for the 19.99. That's very kind of you. Please really listen. Seth stated on Betty's interview, when he got to Katie's, the house was filled with police inside and out. Dogs were searching and drones. Parents were told, don't leave the house. This isn't Katie's word. I know. Katie had gone out to, she went round the local neighbourhood. So she went to the school, which is a perfectly sensible thing to think. So she went to the school and drove round. So, hold on. Swizzle this round. So she went, so she lives here. So she drove around the neighbourhood, went to the school, searched around the school to see if, like, I don't know, he got up early and decided to walk to school. So she just drove around the roads where she thought he might be. Presumably she drove to the construction site. I don't know. But I do know she was driving around the school area. So she didn't go far. She was just looking around the local neighbourhoods in case he'd gone wandering. In case he'd gone, you know, thinking, oh, if I go to school early, maybe they'll let me in. I don't know what he was thinking. But, you know, that's a fair bit of, you know, you can get in, drive around the car parks, drive around the roads here. She was out looking for Sebastian in that local area when the cops were there. And then, you know, they want you. They want to watch you. So they tell you they don't want you to go out. They want to watch you. Katie did not throw a 120-pound young man over her shoulder. Sorry, you can't convince me of that. Well, I used to be able to throw a guy who was about 14 stone over my shoulder. He was probably heavier than that. He was pretty heavy. But I could pick him up and literally throw him over my shoulder. So a 120-pound person, I could easily throw over my shoulder. But look, it didn't happen. It didn't happen. All right, it didn't happen. I like this Sarge guy. What's the stone? 14 pounds. I like this Sarge guy. Does anybody know his channel name? Because I'm going to go and subscribe to him. He's funny. It is. He's absolutely right. It's the viewers that drive the narrative, because if viewers just consistently wouldn't listen to the drama, if viewers wouldn't give them the views and the, you know, when they're being spewing vitriol, they'd stop doing it because it wouldn't be profitable. I'm not sharing. Jesus Christ. All right. Could you hear it though? I'll go back a bit. I'll go back to there. You can't hear him. Right. Well, I'll go back a bit. Sorry, guys. So when I change screens, I keep forgetting to change back, and then it all goes wrong. All right. I'm sorted. I'm sorted.
It's going to have anything to do with manual labor. I like Clue to that shit. Oh my God. Well, I'm glad we met. I don't even know what to say when it comes to discussing your son. That's just unimaginable.
Oh.
And,
I've gone a bit too far. I've gone too far back. All right, we'll try there.
But for quite a long time, I slept in a Chrysler Newport.
That was even too far.
But I think we could agree on that. If people focused on the right thing and actually acted on it, we'd be much further along in trying to find out what happened to your son.
True. I concur and stand beside that right there with you. You know, I mean, the facts are the facts. Law enforcement has come out in a press briefing and said there's no evidence for us to suspect foul play on any of the parents. We've all been very cooperative from day one. I think a lot of the skewness that is coming around is because you've got individuals that have decided to make things a lot worse.
Seth said on News Nation, Elizabeth Vargas, Sumner County told Seth there's no evidence Sebastian left the house. All right. Okay. News Nation. News Nation. Because I haven't heard Seth say that. The first time I heard Seth say that the cops had told him that Sebastian never left the house was on Bullhorn Betty. So I've obviously missed an interview. So News Nation, Sebastian Rogers, Vargas. Oh, I did watch it. So are we talking about 10 days ago? Sebastian Rogers' father calls for FBI. I don't want a cold case. Vargas reports. Oh, this from a month ago. Sebastian Rogers' disappearance due to domino effect of events. Oh, that was a good interview. That was what Heather thought. 3 weeks ago, 2 months ago. Well, let's play this one.
It's been nearly 3 months since the teenager vanished in the middle of the night from the Tennessee home where he was living with his mother and his stepfather. Asking for the FBI to step in as the lead investigative agent 26. And despite a sheriff's office has reported evidence, the FBI is already helping along with the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. In fact, the TBI issued this Amber Alert on Sebastian the day after he disappeared. Set of eyes is needed, and that it's time for the department to hand over the reins completely to the FBI. For more now, we're joined by Seth Rogers, Sebastian's father, and Tony Mathis, a spokesman for Seth and also a family friend. Thanks so much for joining us. Seth, this is not the first time you've called for the FBI to step in and take over. Why do you think it's so important?
I don't want my son to become a cold case. And the way that I'm seeing things now, it'll be a cold case.
You mentioned that people are calling in with information. They're not getting calls back?
Well, they're not going to call back and let them know that they checked the information. What it is I've got people that have contacted me and been like, we found stuff. And we've contacted Sumner County to come pick it up to see if it has any relevance to my son being missing. And they just don't show up.
Tony, what do you think the chances are the FBI will in fact step in? They can't do that unless local officials there ask them to.
I think it's going to take great outlets.
Sorry, both of you can answer, but
Yeah.
Tony, you first, then Seth.
I mean, I think what it's going to take is it's going to take networks such as yours to put a little pressure on them to let them know that either one, we want some confidence that they're getting somewhere in the case, which means a little communication with Seth, which we're not getting, or, we want them to elevate the case.
What do you mean, Seth? You're not communicating with police?
Sumner County, I don't believe that text messages are a valid form of communication. I can't tell anything from your tone or how you're speaking to me. It's just like sending somebody an email in response to their questions, but it actually has more to do with how you respond than what you responded with.
Seth, you have a theory about what may have happened to your son. We should say your son Sebastian has autism, so he might have. Would he have difficulty being out and about on his own?
I believe he would.
Okay, so what's your theory about what happened to him?
Well, my theory is not new. It's just the last thing that I've been informed of is Sumner County has, as they said, no evidence that he ever left the house.
So that's the bit that everybody's talking about. So he said Sumner County has said Sebastian never left the house. So Seth and your friends, please show me where law enforcement said that Sebastian never left the house, because they said the opposite to the public. So the statement made by the DA is interesting. Does the DA get involved in all missing child cases? Not all of them, no. But it doesn't mean to say anything. Like, what did the DA say? Like, The DA spoke in the Summerwells case and said, you know, if there's ever evidence of a crime, then we'll prosecute. That's important information from McRail Potts. Yeah. Maybe he went up the chimney and he stuck there. There isn't a chimney. It doesn't have a chimney, I don't think. Where's the evidence he ever made it home to begin with? Well, according to Seth, he's seen the video of Sebastian taking out the trash. Think he's doing this to get a public response from LE? Yeah, he may be, but all he's doing is making LE less likely to communicate with him. The evidence that he left the house is he isn't in the house. They know full well he isn't in the house. So he left the house. That's the evidence. He's not there. Seth says in another interview that it seems he walked out. Seth needs to stop talking. He absolutely does. It's ridiculous. Which is why I used the garage in a car. There's no evidence. Okay. But again, they would know what time Katie left. SGT Friday, your news network, is Sarge's channel. Thank you, Cara. I'll go and check it out. All right. So he made an unfounded claim, basically. That's what we're talking about. He made an unfounded claim, and it's been picked up on because people want to believe that Sebastian never left the house alive, or you know, whatever. But the cops have said the opposite. All right.
Whether or not because of their emotions or money or whatever. You know,
I don't think
hate,
it's
I
the
hate
people.
that.
I hate to break it to you, but it's the viewer. I know scumbags that Seth has interviewed with, and they are clear scumbags. They have the.
Do we know if the wind direction played a role with the dogs, Michelle? Well, funny you should say that, because I did a video all about it just the other day. There, Sebastian Rogers, Gone with the Wind. That's all about wind direction. 4 days ago. Don't bring up the weather. No, we won't. But the wind direction. So the wind direction, it was southerly. Should we play a little bit of it? Good morning, everyone. My name is Michelle. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another video. It was wind down. It's just through February 28th, because it's not just the direction that the wind was going in and the speed of it when Sebastian was actually out there walking around. It's also in the days following when the dogs are out there searching. So it's not giving me an hourly breakdown. It's just giving me night, morning, day, and evening. So through the night, it's a southerly. So this is interesting that this wind is southerly. What does that mean? It means it's coming from the south, blowing north. And guess what? Kelling Lane is in the same direction as the wind. So there's a tailwind behind those dogs who were tracking him towards the construction site. Kelling is an artificial surface. If Sebastian was walking along the road, then that scent is not going to settle. That scent is going to be blown in a northerly direction. All right? It's a tailwind. If you're a hunter, if you hunt deer, if you hunt birds, if you hunt with dogs, Tell me about tailwinds in the comments. It's an issue. It's a problem. So it will blow air scent away from the target. So all you've got is the scent that actually falls to the ground. So the ground scent from his feet, if he indeed was barefooted, that would be strong scent. So dogs that excelled in ground tracking, like bloodhounds, the coonhound, who also got a scent, would be favourable. Where there's no air scent, because the air scent's just dispersed. It's been blown in a northern direction. It's been blown away from Sebastian, not to the dogs. Like a headwind is blowing towards you. So it's blowing the scent up Kelling Lane. Now, where the houses are, that scent is in a pool. Right, some of it's going to get caught. It's going to get caught on trees. It's going to get caught on houses. It's going to get caught. It's going to be around, and it's going to settle. But the scent, if Sebastian did walk up Kelling Lane, that scent that's coming off him, the odor and the skin cells, the sweat deposits that we all distribute without our knowledge, is being blown away. It's being blown to the north. All right, so that's what I said 4 days ago. So go and watch that video. I'll put a link to this in chat for anybody who wants to go and listen to the rest of it now. You're very welcome to. I got a super chat before. Hold on. Wanderlust, thank you for the $4.99. Thank you so much from Seattle, Washington. Thank you, thank you. A turkey hunter could give you info on scents and wind directions. Yeah, if the wind's blowing away from the target, it's harder for a dog. Doesn't matter whether that target's a human, whether that target's a turkey, whether that target's a deer. If it's blowing away from the target rather than blowing to the dog's nose, it's a problem. It's harder for the dog.
Moral compass of a fucking, I don't know, a piece of lumber. There's no magnetism to these people at all. None. Okay. And these are the viewers. These are the viewers. And then they claim, like that fat ass blowhole Betty, to have moral standing when she defends Seth and then turns right around and attacks you. You're all parents of that boy. You all deserve the respect of being the parents that lost a child, and it should end with that until a fact appears to impugn one of you. And if no fact appears, leave them the fuck alone. And it's the viewer that drives this narrative. It isn't just the asshole creator. The asshole creator is just directing traffic in the direction that it's already flowing. I mean, that's why I created the other stream. The real problem is the attitude and the actions of the viewer. It wasn't the creator necessarily following you around.
Can we not make negative comments about creators in the chat, please? You can make positive comments about other creators. That's absolutely fine. But negative comments about other creators, please don't.
It was one of their viewers.
Well, the viewer, but the viewer that followed around was also enticed by the creator.
I suspect that's accurate. Sure.
I do agree with that.
Well, I mean, I can prove that to be fact. When you say that you have an army everywhere, and you put out there that where'd they go? We don't know, but you can bet my army out there is going to find you, and we're going to take pictures, and we're going to locate. That is fact. Very factual.
No, I don't dispute you, and I wouldn't argue against.
And that's the problem. And, people have said horrible things about Katie Proudfoot for leaving the house when Chris went back to work. But honestly, would you have wanted to stay in that house on your own when there's Sebastian's army, intent on doing bad things? It only takes one person to be riled up who has a bit of a screw loose to do something really drastic. It only takes one person. Now, the vast majority of people are not going to go any more further than driving by, maybe take a photograph, honk the horn, But you just need that one person with a screw loose. So it's a problem. A big problem. Big problem.
It's the point you made, because it's completely valid. And that to me is what's the tragedy inside of a tragedy, that we need information about the lost boy. That's what we need. The parents aren't going to be able to give it to us because they're not involved as much. They're the victims, okay? And so you don't then destroy the victims in your outrage or your indignation.
Exactly. They don't know any more than they probably know a little bit more than we do. Certainly Chris and Katie will, because law enforcement are telling them stuff. And law enforcement are trusting them not to let out the information that they don't want to be made public at this time. I don't think Seth knows anything more than we do, because law enforcement have stopped talking to him because he blabs. So yeah, Chris and Katie might know a little bit more than we do, but it's simply because law enforcement have been sharing information with them. They don't know any more than we do above and beyond that, because they're the victims of this, like Sebastian is. They're the secondary victims to this.
Because there's no simple explanation to how he went missing. Well, there is. He walked out the door. End of story. Help me find him.
But that's the problem. It's so simple.
Why hasn't anyone in this case thanked EquiSearch? If you want to thank EquiSearch, you can send them a donation. EquiSearch do great work, fantastic work. So yeah, if you want to thank them, send them a donation. They work totally on donations. But yeah, they've been out there. They've done a lot of drone work on this case.
Simple that it's complicated, because everybody's used to these in-depth, complicated cases and things like that nature. When it's, I mean, there's another young girl right now, 15 years old, from Lebanon, which is the county. It's Wilson County, or right over from where we live.
Yep.
She's disappeared.
So he's talking here about the young lady that I mentioned at the beginning. Yeah, EquiSearch has been there twice, yeah. The reason why people don't know that EquiSearch have been there is because they work professionally behind the scenes. So, yeah. So the best way to thank them is to send them a donation.
No, nothing.
So?
She disappeared. Don't know.
Don't they think she might be with her boyfriend?
That I don't know. I haven't heard anything. The last thing I heard was there was an individual who posted something in a group that I'm, just so the record, because I know there's people watching this. I am not in these groups, and I don't care. But that person made a valid statement. 15-year-old young girl has disappeared from her house without a trace. Don't know anything. So their question was, could this be something more? Could this be bigger? We don't know. But whatever's happening, you got people disappearing without traces.
Well, they just did a big
So I don't know any more than has been cited in the news. So this is who he's talking about. So for those who came in late, this young lady here, 15 years old, her name is Franchelle Cablano, from Wilson County, Tennessee. So it's Middle Tennessee. It's next to Sumner County. She was last seen walking away from her home on Cherokee Drive between 7:30 and 9 a.m. on Wednesday. 5'5", 110 pounds, brown hair, and was last seen wearing a black t-shirt with yellow writing. So Franchelle has been missing since Wednesday. Now, whether there's something bigger going on, whether teenagers are being abducted, you know, walking outside the home, as any teenager should have the right and the safety to. Whether there is something bigger going on, whether teenagers are being stolen, don't know, but that's who he's talking about.
Sex ring thing here too, or they just rescued like 12 kids, maybe something like that.
So what she's talking about is the TBI a few days ago did a press conference about trafficking. Let's call it a raid, but a lot of work that they've been doing on child trafficking. They did a whole press conference on it a few days ago, so it's worth a listen.
Oh, from sex trafficking?
Yeah, here.
Jesus.
Can I, you know, if I ask a question that's out of bounds, just say pass, if you will, please.
No, I'll just simply tell you the answer that I can't answer because the law enforcement says not to.
All right, that's fine. What was Sebastian's overall mood for any period of time? Like knowing that he wasn't going to be able to go back to school, that he was going to have to be homeschooled. Are those accurate statements that I just made? Is that a fact?
Yes, that is a fact.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to talk about Sebastian not wanting to go and live with Seth in a minute, but I just want to share this with you. So it's this TBI press conference from 11 days ago. So that's on Fox Nashville. So it's very interesting. So you want to go and listen to that? I'll
tell to get the help that they need.
I'll just put the link in the chat for anybody who wants to grab this. It's 20 minutes long, but it's really interesting.
Now, the supporting facts to the main fact is that when Sebastian got out of school, he was moving to his father's house to give that an opportunity to see if behavioral things changed. His father decided that he was wanting to put him in online school, which there had been many folks that were against it and stated their opinions, and even some teachers have also made that assessment that for him to flourish, he would need to be in a physical school setting, not a online setting. Sebastian was not happy because when he found out about that, he did not want to go to his dad's. That was a very hard pressed. He didn't want it.
Oh, I can imagine, man. That's why I asked that question. I thought that there would be some kind of consternation between his personal feelings, his wants, his desires would be contradictory to. Look, I told you, and I'm not lying when I tell you I'm on that spectrum. But I will assure you with this, that when I was made homeless at 14, I wouldn't be able to hold this conversation with you if I didn't walk that road. So for me, I would have been shut down, and I would have been most comfortable in a classroom with nobody around me and a computer. Literally, I would have. So my life, as it turned out, there were tragedies in it, but those tragedies actually helped create me and in my ability to see, think, and communicate with strangers and other people, which is not what I was akin to as I was younger. So when it comes to your son, Sebastian, I could just see the overwhelming desire not to want to be separated from his friends, not to be in an area where he can't have other kids his age or adults that he can interact with. I could see that the most to do when I was young was first I played alone, but then as I started going to school and troubles in the house and things that I wasn't comfortable with started to appear, I started to migrate to others, whether they be kids my age, but mainly it ended up being adults for me, school teachers. And I was also wondering, has the investigation gone into an area where they consider there could have been foul play, not by the parents, but by someone else in Seth and Sebastian's circle?
All right. So in relation to the school thing, oh, thank you. A to Z for gifting 5 memberships. So we've got Sour Girl, Whist, Tory Banks, Woody Wood, and Gypsy Trails. Welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome. You guys get a month's free membership, courtesy of A to Z. Thank you so much. Very kind. Yeah, so there's 2 kind of prongs to EquiSearch. There's Texas EquiSearch, and then there's EquiSearch Midwest. So it was Texas EquiSearch that found Audrey Cunningham's remains in the river. And it's EquiSearch Midwest who've been out looking for Sebastian. But yeah, both prongs of EquiSearch are amazing. They do great work. So let me just find their website. EquiSearch. So this is Texas EquiSearch here. And they do work on donations, so you can donate today. And then there is EquiSearch Midwest. And again, you can donate to them. Well, they're 2 prongs of the same organisation. So it doesn't matter which one you donate to. You know, the both prongs are doing great work. No, I don't have a police background. I need to do another donation. Last time I donated to them, it was when they found Audrey Cunningham. Okay, got too many windows open now.
Some other person could have lured him out of the house. Has there been anything into that?
There's no statement. There's nothing out there that the cops will come out and say that they suspect foul play. That's not out there. The statement that is out there is no evidence to suspect foul play, nor is there any evidence to support negative things on the parents. All the parents have been cooperative from day one. It's an investigation of a missing 15-year-old autistic child that has disappeared from the home.
Yeah. If Sebastian didn't want to go and live with his dad, why did Katie allow him to stay with her? Sebastian didn't want to go and live with his dad. Why did Katie allow him to stay with her? Has it been explained? So, I think you mean why didn't... okay, so Katie wasn't entirely on board with Sebastian going living with Seth. But he was meant to go and live with Seth last year. And then Seth changed his mind and said he'd give Sebastian another year because Sebastian was having some behavioural issues. So, I don't know. It was a decision that Sebastian would go and live with Seth, at least for a period of time, to see whether his behaviour improved. So this year, the plan was for him to go and live with Seth. So Seth wanted it, Chris wanted it, but Katie was, I think, reluctant. Now, whether she was going along with it to see how it went, I don't know. I'm not privy to their conversations. I don't know. I can only state on what's been said. But the reason why Sebastian didn't want to go and live there wasn't because he didn't like his dad. It was because he didn't want to go to online school. Seth had arranged for him, and Seth has talked about this as well. This is not just Chris saying this. This is Seth who's talked about this as well, that Sebastian didn't want to do online school. He wanted to stay at the school he was at. Now, remember, Sebastian had trouble making friends, but he wanted friends. So why would he want to leave the friends that he'd made at Beach High School to go and live an hour or so away and sit at a computer all day doing online school? Because he'd just be sat in the house on his own doing online school. That's not going to help him make friends. And if you think about it, Seth has still got to work. So Seth does a lot of night shifts. So if Sebastian was living at Seth's full time, then Sebastian would be on his own all night while Seth was at work. And then Seth would be able to spend some time with him in the day, but he'd still have to sleep. Seth would have to sleep for part of the day. So Sebastian would spend a whole lot of time in the house on his own. Like, he'd be completely isolated and doing online school, just sitting there in front of a computer. Now, actually, I would have liked that when I was a kid, because it wasn't the fact that I hated school. It was the fact that I hated people at the school. I hated people. So I'd have been fine sitting on a computer on my own doing work. But Sebastian didn't want that. Sebastian wanted friends. He liked the communication that he was having at school, and he did not want to go to live with his dad for that reason. So if you think about it, Sebastian was stuck between the rock and a hard place. That he was having problems at home, right? He was having behavioural problems at home. Now, we don't know the reasons why he was having those behavioural problems. But equally, he didn't want to go and live with his dad either. So he wasn't happy because he's a teenager. And, you know, there's a lot of hardships when you're a teenager. Coming to terms with, we talked about this yesterday, coming to terms with, you know, the way your brain's being rewired for everybody. That's an issue. It's a problem. And then he's got his learning challenges due to his 6q27 chromosomal deletion syndrome and his autism, which affects his ability to socialize and to make friends. So he needs extra support there. But he needs extra support being with people. So the way to practice that is to actually be with people, not to just sit there doing online school. So I think the circumstances at home, he perhaps felt were overly strict. Like, Chris was very strict with him. So I can imagine, you know, as a teenager, Sebastian's not going to like that. So even if Chris meant well, perhaps Chris was overly strict. I believe Chris was overly strict. I don't agree with the way that Chris was disciplining Sebastian. I just don't agree with hitting a kid with a belt or throwing their stuff away because they don't tidy the room. I don't agree with any of that. I really don't. But equally, I think Sebastian knew that if he complained, he'd have to go and live with Seth. And he didn't want that either. So who can blame him for running away? Even if he didn't intend to run away forever, hence why he didn't take anything, who can blame him for going out, you know, walking around the neighbourhood when he felt overwhelmed or felt upset? So it's the emotional turmoil that he was feeling about his life for all sorts of reasons. So yeah.
All right. Well, Cletus and I were talking, Clue, last night about that particular building area behind you and the potential for someone to have been there, unbeknownst to Sebastian. And I've always considered that, based on what we know, how he left the home, that he was lured from the home by somebody he trusted. Not a parent, from somebody outside, but somebody within his circle that he trusted or that he was comfortable with, that supported him as him. That's what I've always thought right from the very beginning. I think Cletus will tell you that's what I said originally. It sounds like this young man went outside because whoever was on the other side of the door was someone he either wanted to see, desired to see, or was comfortable seeing.
All right, so this is interesting. It's interesting what Chris says here. Why didn't he put shoes or a jacket on? Any ideas? I don't believe he put a coat on because it was a warm night. And the shoes aspect, well, if he didn't wear shoes, if he genuinely didn't have shoes on, maybe it's because he liked walking barefoot. Or he did have shoes. I've said this all along. I think he had a pair of shoes that his parents weren't aware of. Like a favourite pair of shoes that he'd hidden because his stuff got thrown away. So he'd hidden his favourite pair of shoes and he'd wear those when he went out on his own. That's what I think he was doing. Now, have I any evidence to suggest that? No, it's just a thought that that's what he might have had. But if he went out barefoot, maybe it's because he liked walking barefoot. Like when his parents weren't there, maybe he felt free walking barefoot. I like walking barefoot. But I don't think he took a coat for the same reason that I didn't take a coat this morning when I went out. Because when the temperature's like 50 degrees, it's warm. Like to go for a walk, it's warm. So it wouldn't need a coat. I didn't take a coat this morning when I went out. And I think I went out about 7. I think it was 50 degrees, maybe 52 degrees. So it was actually colder here this morning when I went out than it was throughout the night when Sebastian went out. So that's why I didn't take a coat. So anyhow, what's the possibility of somebody luring him away? And I think that there's a very a reasonable possibility that he came across somebody either by chance, like a predator, or he arranged to meet someone, because we do know that he had some online access, and Chris goes on to talk about this in a minute. He says that his online access was limited at their house, but we do know that Seth allowed him the freedom to go on his games, you know, in his own room. Seth wasn't like watching him or, you know, monitoring him. So he had online access. It's all kind of come out how much freedom he actually did have. And he was spending like time on his own, like he was home alone, both at Chris and Katie's sometimes and also at Seth's sometimes. So he's 15. I don't see any problem with him having online access. How do we know he even left the house? Because he's not there. He's not in the house. He's not in the house, so we know he left the house. All right, so potential for him to be lured away.
Now, here's the other part of this.
Lure him away from the home.
Here's the other part of this. I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second.
All right.
There's no evidence to support anybody who's outside the house. So to come up with that conclusion is one that I question. Then how would a third-party person been in the subdivision,
right, unseen,
unsight, unsound, no footprints,
so
nothing?
I have a way.
Well, there would be no footprints because if you're on a road, you're not going to leave footprints. So exactly the same reasons why Sebastian didn't leave any footprints, because if you're on a road for the majority of your journey, you're not going to leave any footprints. All right. And Sebastian wasn't seen leaving. Therefore, anybody waiting outside, as long as they weren't flashing a big light, they wouldn't be seen either. The cameras were too far away. So there's no evidence that somebody was outside the house waiting for Sebastian, for all the same reasons why there's no evidence of Sebastian actually leaving, because the cameras in the neighborhood weren't good enough to pick up tiny movements of people moving around when it's pitch black. that's why there's no evidence of anybody being outside the house. Now, do I think there was anybody outside the house waiting for Sebastian? I don't think so. I don't think someone would have been so brazen as to come right up to the house. What I do think is very possible is someone arranging to meet him somewhere away from the house. So someone maybe at the construction site, maybe someone at the other side of the construction site in the woods. Arranging to meet him there would be, in my opinion, much more likely than somebody creeping up to the door. I think you'd have to be pretty brazen to do that if you were intent on abducting him. It's happened before. Look at Elizabeth Smart. Someone abducted her from her bed. So it does happen, but it's unlikely. But I think it's very possible that Sebastian could have been lured away, because he's trusting and he wanted friends. That's still on my, list of possibilities. But the other thing that we have to consider, though, is that the cops have said, TBI have said, that all the vehicles around the area have been accounted for. So if someone did arrange to meet him, they didn't come in a car. Now, could they have hidden a car? Maybe. If you look at the map here, they'd have to be very, very, very well planned. Now, I'd like to know what area means, like quote unquote area. Because the TBI says all the vehicles in the area at the time have been accounted for. So what's the area? Is it just the immediate neighborhood, or is it this subdivision as well? I would imagine so. Is it this road as well? I would imagine so. Is it out as far as the school? Probably. Like, if you could account for all the vehicles moving around this entire area, then no one's come into the immediate neighborhood in a vehicle to pick him up. So if you were planning on meeting Sebastian, like, you plotted it out and you'd convinced Sebastian that this was a great idea, and you said, I know, I'll meet you at the construction site, maybe on this fence line here. And if they parked a vehicle here on Ward Lane, a well-planned abductor might park a vehicle a little bit far, further away. So that's possible, where there's no cameras. It'd have to be really, really well planned, though. If the car didn't have lights on, it might not be detected. I think that this camera probably would have detected a vehicle without lights on. This camera's on the corner of Stafford Court. This camera. The reason why I say that is because on the flashlights video, the tiny bit that Nick Barris released was just the top right-hand corner. Let me just see if I've got it. I do have it. I just want to see if I can find it. All right. Okay. I'll do it this way. So this is a screenshot. Just a second. This is a screenshot from the full flashlights video. So what we see on Nick Barris's flashlights video is just this section here. This top right. We see that. That's all. Actually, the full video is this. Oh, I can't turn it now. And you can see the vehicles in the driveway. Now there's no lights on these vehicles, but yet you can see them quite clearly in the driveway. So the road is here. The road is here, just behind this truck here. Because those are the lights from a house across the road. And then that's a light on the house across the other house across the road. So the road, Stafford Court's here. So I think possibly a vehicle passing by without lights on may have been picked up. Because it does see these vehicles, even though there's no lights on. So it's these vehicles in the drive. So if a vehicle was coming along here, I think there would have been some kind of, maybe a shadow. Maybe you wouldn't be able to work out the make and model, but you may have been able to make out a shadow of a vehicle, like a something passing by, basically. So the two fixed lights are on a house over here, and then the little tiny light, which Nick Barris calls Subject 1, is that light there. So a vehicle passing by, I think possibly would have been picked up. And certainly as it got lighter, you know, the lighter it became, you know, once, you know, it starts coming light, doesn't it, before dawn. So whatever the sunrise was, you have sunlight even before sunrise.
I have a way.
Mm-hmm.
So,
that's right. We don't know what other camera footage Ellie has. Absolutely. Because we're only talking about the cameras on Kelling Lane and on Stafford Court. That's all we're talking about. But, you know, if you think about it, I bet you, I mean, it's, you're going to have businesses that will have better cameras. What's that? Long Hollow Jamboree. You've got a church there, which may have cameras. You'd be thinking that businesses may have better cameras than just your typical household surveillance system. So maybe some of these businesses along Long Hollow, maybe. And does Long Hollow have street lights? So look. Like as the main road, you think it would have street lights? Is that a street light? Because even though like Stafford Court and Kelling, they don't have street lights. You know, these are like $500,000 plus houses, and they can't even put street lights on the street. I'd be complaining about that. I'd be really complaining. I don't know that this place has street lights even. Anyhow, once you get past the school, you're getting into a more built-up area. So the further you go out, like if you go past this road here, you know, you're getting into a reasonably built-up area. And then down here, it's very built up. So you get caught on loads of cameras. But the possibility of somebody meeting him, either as an opportunist or as somebody who was planned, if he's chatting to people, it's got to be on the list. It's got to be possible. Now, of course, we know that by now, law enforcement will have results back from Sebastian's gaming system and stuff like that. So if there was evidence that Sebastian had been talking to somebody who law enforcement believed could be a suspect, if it left a trace on that gaming system, they may be following that up. But there are, you know, apps that don't save the data. And if you're in sort of some kind of chat app where the data doesn't get saved, then law enforcement ain't going to be able to pick up on it. But that would mean Sebastian would have to have known to go to that site. So that, you see, the more convoluted and the more complicated you make the story, the less likely this to have happened. There's no streetlights on Long Hollow. Maybe some spotted areas. It's weird. It's usually just cat's eyes in rural areas. Oh, when I was little, I used to genuinely believe that cat's eyes in the road were actual cat's eyes. Like cat's eyes, like watching you. I couldn't understand that they called the lights in the road cat's eyes for any other reason than they weren't literal cat's eyes. So did you as well. Talk about taking things literally. The cats just donated them. I don't know what I thought. I think I thought that the cats were like somehow under the road lying in wait for people.
No one says they have to step on the grass, right? And
Right.
if it was too dark for the cops to have been seen on the camera, could they not have stood in the street and like flashed like a little light or something pointing away from the camera?
If you would have flashed any form of light near that house, a camera would have picked it up. Now, mind you, think about that, because the camera that ever...
Okay, so a camera would have picked up a light. Well, he's right that this camera, on the corner of Stafford did pick up a light, picked up several lights. So this camera on the corner of Stafford, I think would have, if somebody had been walking along here, flashing a light, then it would have picked it up, because it picked up this light. That's Nick Berris's subject 1. It picked up the lights that are floodlights on one of these houses. I don't know which house. And then it picked up the tiny pinpoint lights that were on the garbage truck right over on Honeysuckle Drive, like behind these trees. Now, if it was now, like when the trees are all full of leaves, it wouldn't have picked the garbage truck up. But in February, remember, there would have been no leaves on these trees. So we know this camera picked up small lights. So if someone had been walking along here with a light, you probably wouldn't have seen the person, but you'd have seen the light. But what Chris is arguing is that this camera across from the house, now again, we don't know exactly which house, whether it's this house or this house, he's arguing that that camera would have picked up a light source. And maybe it would have. If somebody had been out there waiting for Sebastian with a flashlight, you know, and flashed the lights on and off a few times to attract Sebastian's attention, that probably would have been picked up by a camera. Possibly. But I don't think someone would have been so stupid as to come right up to the house and start flashing a light if they had an intent to abduct him. I don't think abductors are that brazen that they do that. Flashlight didn't work, you were told. What, Sebastian's flashlight didn't work? It's been mentioned that Happy Hollow Road has a very steep drop off to the left. Do you mean Long Hollow Road? Or is there literally a Happy Hollow? What a great name. I'd want to live on Happy Hollow. He used to collect milk bottle tops for the blind, and I thought that they stuck them over people's eyes. And the reflection, wow. Wow, that's very dark. If it was dark, how the hell was Sebastian able to negotiate his way anywhere? He had a flashlight. Why wasn't that picked up by the camera? Well, you'd have the light of the moon. It would have been light enough for him to be able to see in front of himself. It wasn't like pitch black like a mine. It wasn't like going down a mine. There would have been light from the moon, but there would have been, it's not sufficient light for a camera to pick it up like 100 feet away. That's what we're saying. So it's not that it's pitch black like going down a cave or a mine. There's the light of the moon, and it was full moon on the 24th. So the night of the 25th into the 26th, it was almost a full moon. So actually, there would have been plenty of light for Sebastian to see in front of him, just not enough light for the cameras in the area to pick him up. Remember, he's wearing black. Happy Hollow, showed it on the map earlier. 2 streets down from the subdivision. What, along here? Hold on. Happy Hollow. Oh, that's all the way over here. Or is there a different Happy Hollow? Got Happy Hollow down there. So which one? That's 32 minutes away. So he's not walked all the way down there. So I'm guessing you're not talking about that one. Let's do Happy Hollow Road. That one. Oh, there we go. That's closer. 6 minutes. So that's Happy Hollow Road. So it's got a steep drop off, does it? What am I doing here? Stop doing that. Oh, look at that. Look at what it's done. Steep drop off. It doesn't have in that location. Let's follow it. Why does it keep doing that? Happy Hollow Road, it goes all the way along there. Hold on. So it starts there. Doesn't look like it does. Maybe it does it somewhere, but it has a hill on this side. It has a hill, but not a drop off. Anyhow.
Everybody raved about that camera shot that Nick Barris released about the camera or the flashing lights and subject 1, subject 2. All right. The light that flickers very, very fast, that was a light on the hill up behind our subdivision on the next road over. And the camera that picked that up from where that light is, shit. Every bit of easily 500 yards. And it picked up that light.
You see that? They want Sarge's link. So it was, you said it blinked fast. Am I gonna am I safe to assume that's like a strobe light?
No.
Oh, okay. So
No,
it's just
that was a light that was on. The truck passed in front of it, turns around and drives right past it. That's why you
Okay.
see the flick, 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 flick.
Yeah.
I think my word lured is a bad word. I think it's a bad word because it implies somebody had to come to the property to lure him out. And what I mean by lured, though, what I mean by lured, though, is somebody in his circle that he discussed this with and pre-planned leaving the house.
So instead of saying lured, I would have said, instead of saying lured, I would have said coached.
Okay, yeah, that's why I came back and thought, yeah, that's probably a bad word to use. That's why, okay, coach, is that's been thought through, or anybody consider? And I don't know why after 90 days the police don't look at this as something more than just a runaway.
They have. That's the problem. They have looked at this from every single angle, and don't get me wrong. Still to this day, we just had a conversation with them the other day, and everything is still on the table. Nothing has been taken off the table. So, because there's nothing to.
It's like the kid just vanished, like the Mayans.
Yeah. Okay. So think of the Riley Strain case real quick. That kid was in a bar, got kicked out. He's walking around, he's pissed drunk, whatever. But what was the key that broke the case wide open, that got them to going in a direction?
Yeah.
The one thing.
The camera.
Wasn't it video?
Nope, it was not the camera. It was not. No.
His body.
It was 2 YouTubers walking along the bank, and they found his bank card.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 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 Okay.
That right there alone, they found something. It was a bank card. It doesn't matter. It's a bank card with his name on it. That means they found something. In this case with Sebastian, we got nothing. Absolutely zero.
Yeah, and the reason why is because Sebastian didn't take anything with him. Now, Riley Strain had a bank card on him. He had a phone on him. So they were able to track his movements via his phone. They know the last time his phone pinged. And he was caught on multiple cameras because he was walking through like a city that had a bunch of cameras. So we had Riley's direction of travel, which led him to the river. We have his last phone ping, which was on the road right next to the river. And then his bank card was on the bank of the river. So it was all leading you all into, well, he's in the river. We know he's in the river. He's on security cameras, goes under a bridge, and then he's not seen again on any cameras. So they had all the information that they needed to know where Riley likely was. It was just a matter of finding him in that river. And eventually someone caught sight of him in the river. So we knew where Riley was. Now, how he ended up in the river is still a question, but we knew where he was. Like, I know people were making wild theories about this person might have abducted him and blah, 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 blah. But all the evidence pointed to the fact that Riley Strain was in the river. Now, Sebastian's case, there is nothing because the cameras in the immediate vicinity weren't good enough to pick him up because it was pitch black. In Riley's case, there were street lights all over the place. There was cars with lights on all over the place. So the cameras were security cameras from businesses, which would probably have been better cameras anyway than the average home security system. So Riley had stuff with him, like a phone and a bank card, that, you know, the phone transmitting a signal, at least till it didn't, and then his card fell out of his pocket. So with Sebastian, there's nothing, because he didn't take a phone. He didn't take a bank card. He didn't take anything that would fall out of a pocket. He didn't have anything with him. He didn't even have a coat with him. So, you know, gets warm, takes his coat off and, you know, drops his coat. There's nothing with him to suggest a direction of travel. So it's a completely different scenario than Riley's. It's more frustrating than Riley's because we had all the evidence with Riley that the police put out. We knew exactly where Riley was. But with Sebastian, there's nothing because he didn't take anything with him. And because it's an area where there's no street lights. So, unfortunately, we don't know what direction he went in other than that dog track. The only information we've got about a potential direction of travel is that dog track. So even that, you know, some of the dogs went in a different direction. Why did they go in a different direction? Well, I've explained all that, at least a theory of, in previous videos. So please go and check out my recent videos where I've talked about the dogs. Left Texas Roadhouse 6:30 to 7. I honestly don't know what time they left. I know it was like, you know, early evening. Does it really matter what time they left? Like, we know he got home. Like, I don't know why people are still saying that they don't think he got home. We know he got home. We know he got home. Maybe Katie did do away with Seth. Well, Katie didn't do away with Seth. Seth's right there. Seth's safe and well. Katie's not done away with Seth. I'm going back looking at a few comments here. That's true, SS Psyops. It's pretty amazing how many miles missing people can walk when woods are involved. Yeah. Look at Aidan Clune. Look at how far he walked. Remember Aidan Clune? He went missing a month before Dylan Rounds did. So it was like Utah, like in the desert in Utah. And he walked about 20 miles. They were able to track him for about 20 miles in the desert. And they were able to like follow footprints and stuff in the sand. And then the footprints just disappeared and they couldn't find him. And he's still out there. He's still missing. They don't believe there's foul play. But it's such a crazy case. It's literally like he's been beamed off the face of the earth. Because the footprints just disappear and he's not there. Nowhere. Like, where did he go? And that's just nuts. That beggars belief. And Aidan Clune was 19. So only 4 years older than Sebastian, walking through a desert. So don't think that a 15-year-old couldn't have walked out of that search vicinity within a few hours. Of course he could. Like, you can walk 5 miles, like even at a slow pace in a couple of hours, even at a really slow pace. Have the Proudfoots offered a possible explanation for why their garbage on that day was reportedly heavier than usual? No, but we've had no formal confirmation that the trash was heavier than usual. That's only a rumor on the internet. And the landfill area where their trash goes was inspected. So he's not there. That's right. infrared, ultraviolet, dogs, cadaver dogs, searched all the family's homes and vehicles. Yeah, and that's not just Sebastian's home; it's the other family, like other family members. How do we not know Katie lost her temper and acted alone? Well, if she did, if she lost her temper and acted alone, where's Sebastian? Where is he? Like, she's obviously a criminal mastermind. Yeah. Chris has passed a lie detector. I mean, I don't hold very much stock in polygraphs, but yeah. GPS in his truck, had a phone. There's nothing on cameras, no proof of him leaving. We know from the PIs that they had confirmation that he was at the RV park all night and that he was on his work site by 5:15 a.m. and that's 3.5 hours away. Michelle, I'm sure someone has mentioned it, but the doorbell thing will be in 8 minutes if you're interested. Nobody mentioned it, not that I saw, but I am going to go shortly anyway, because I've been on here for quite a while now. So doorbell sentencing, I'm guessing. I didn't watch the trial, but he's sentencing. So the jury back from deliberating on whether he gets the death penalty or not. Why didn't the dogs hit on the house? Well, if you've been killed in the house, yeah, why didn't cadaver dogs? Why was there no evidence of any blood? If Katie lost her temper, if Katie completely lost her plot, why is there no evidence of blood in the house? Like, look, when Letitia Stout lost her rag with Gannon, she shot him, stabbed him, and hit him with a blunt force instrument. And even though she tried to clean up like extensively, there was blood spatter everywhere, like microscopic signs of blood spatter and blood under the floor. So why is there no evidence of blood? If she lost her rag, she lost her temper. Well, did she lose her temper in a very calm way and work out how to kill him without leaving any signs? Overdose on sleep meds. Well, okay, if he was overdosed on sleep meds and she found him dead in the morning, how come the cadaver dogs didn't alert? If he'd been dead in his bed all night, there is no way on this earth that cadaver dogs wouldn't hit on that bed. Now, if somebody's been dead less than about an hour and a half, under normal like temperatures and normal circumstances, it's possible a cadaver dog isn't going to hit, unless that dead person has been dead there for about an hour and a half, because it takes a while. Like, although the decomposition process starts immediately, it does take a while for the decomp to build up to a point where a dog can smell it. So someone dead less than an hour and a half, you've got an unreliable possibility. So you are going to get some dogs that are going to be able to detect the scent of death if that person's been dead less than an hour and a half, that are exceptionally good. But just an average cadaver dog, not a supersonic super smeller, you're looking at a reliable detection from a body that's an hour and a half dead or older. But if she overdosed him at night and she wasn't aware of it, and then she found him in the morning, that means he would have been dead for 8 hours. The smell of decomp would be probably not detectable by a human yet, but a dog would be able to smell that from outside. A cadaver dog would be able to smell that from outside, because the decomp, even if you change the sheets, right, it's going to be all over that mattress. Somebody who's been dead for 8 hours, they're already in rigor. How's she going to get rid of that body? And why did the cadaver dogs not hit in that house? And also, if she'd carried the body away, so let's say, for example, she'd overdosed him, so it's accidental. She'd overdosed him, and he died, and she panicked. So he's been dead there for 8 hours. So the dogs are going to go berserk in the house. They're also going to go berserk in her car, because the smell of a decomposing young man, a 5'5", 120-pound young man who's been dead for 8 hours, there's going to be decomp all over that car. So either she took him out of that house alive, and if so, where is he? Or it didn't happen. And I would say maybe it didn't happen. Did they search the home with cadaver dogs? Multiple times, multiple dogs, yes. The house has been searched, and this comes from Ken Widener from the Sumner County EMA, that house has been searched 10 times, and there's been multiple dogs through that house. And those dogs are cadaver dogs. So he didn't die in that house. He did not die in that house. He wasn't transported away in any of the vehicles. All the vehicles were searched by dogs. He did not die in that house, guys. So I don't know what else to tell you. I can't say that for a fact. I can't say it for a fact. That's why I'm not saying it's a fact he didn't die in that house. I'm saying I do not believe he died in that house for the reasons that I've just stated. But I do know how good cadaver dogs are. I do know what their capabilities are. I do know how long it takes in average temperatures for decomp to build up, so sufficient for a cadaver dog to smell it. I do know if Sebastian had been dead all night in that house, there would be the scent of decomp all over that house. The dogs would be alerting crazily. I do know for a fact that if a body had been taken out in a vehicle that had been dead for 8 hours, a cadaver dog would alert. Fact. I'm prepared to go fact on that. Cadaver scent develops in minutes. Now, the thing is, yes, the decomp process begins as soon as you die. As soon as there's no brain activity, right, the bacteria takes over. But it does take some time for even a dog to be able to pick up on that decomp scent. So the average cadaver dog, you're looking at about an hour and a half before reliably that scent can be picked up. Now, there's going to be some really, really, really exceptional dogs that would be able to detect before an hour and a half. What if he was unconscious, not dead? Well, then he would be alive. So he wouldn't be smelling like a dead person because he would be alive. Yeah, rigor mortis is by 8 hours, you're going to be in full rigor. Cadaver dogs hit on Madeleine McCann, but no one took it seriously. Oh, I took it seriously. I took that seriously. But there was no hits. There was no hits in that house. No hits in the house. So he didn't die in that house. Do I know it for a fact? No. But what I do know is that if he died in that house, cadaver dogs would have alerted all over that house, and we would be in a very different position we would be further along in this investigation, and the parents would be suspects. They would have declared it a criminal investigation, and this case would be handled very differently by law enforcement. Do we know cadaver dogs were brought out initially? Yes. And we don't look. Even if cadaver dogs had not been brought out on day one, cadaver scent stinks. So even if you change the sheets, even if you try to, I don't know, spray the mattress, wash the mattress, all you're doing is making it worse, because you're soaking that scent in. And a dog can detect, when you take a body away, a dog can detect where that scent has been months afterwards. When it's an area where the scent can have bedded in. So like a mattress. Do you remember that dog that hit? JLR was out in the woods. Do you remember that? We were about, I don't know, 3 weeks in maybe to this case. And there was this big search, and there was a cadaver dog there, a Belgian Malinois, and he led down. And everybody was like panicking. And then it was, oh, it's false. There's nothing there. Nothing was buried there. Well, actually, that dog was not wrong. It wasn't Sebastian. But what it was someone, a homeless person, had died there months previous. And that dog alerted, because the scent of that decomposition was so bedded into the earth that dog alerted. That's how good cadaver dogs are. And that was months previous. I think I heard December of last year. I don't know whether that's true. I don't know exactly when, but it was months previous that someone had died there. Cats know when it's feeding time. They certainly do. Yeah. So, no. I'm not sure a dog would pick up if he was immediately removed, especially if it was days after. Look, if he'd been dead for 8 hours, so we're going under the accidental overdose and then finding him like hours later. If he's removed as soon as he's found dead, it doesn't matter, because he's been dead for hours previous. And it doesn't matter if it's days after. That scent is still going to be there. Now, if you remove someone immediately after they died, then no, because the scent of decomposition is not going to have a chance to build up. So you kill them and then you move them immediately. But how have you been able to kill them without leaving any evidence? So I'm not talking about decomp, but kill them without leaving any evidence at all. So if you lose your temper and you lash out and you hit them and you beat them to death, there's going to be blood. There was no blood in that house. So you're going to have to lose your temper in a very controlled way, and to think it through and be able to kill them in a way that doesn't leave any evidence. Some dogs can smell cancer cells. All dogs can. All dogs can. However, you have to train your dog to alert when it smells that. That scent. All right, guys, I'm going to go. So this is really interesting. I've only played a very small proportion of it. The link is in the description box for replay viewers already. And there we go. I've put that in the chat again, in case you want to just carry on where I've left off. So I've left it at 4 hours and 2 minutes. So it's yeah, it's interesting. Not necessarily blunt force trauma with water on his brain would be no blood. Or there would. Or there would. Because blood starts seeping out of your ears and your eyes. If you have internal brain injury, your ears start bleeding. Your eyes start bleeding. Your nose as well, yeah. And other fluids, yeah. You lose control of your bowels and your bladder. It's messier than you think to kill someone. So be very careful when you're doing so you don't leave any evidence. You've got to be very clever about it. Anyhow, I'm going to go now. If the jury's back in Daybell, what are your bets? What are your bets? Death penalty, no death penalty. I think they'll go with death penalty. Fire up old Sparky. BK managed it. What? Brian Koberger are you talking about, Angel? Koberger left a shit ton of evidence. He left his DNA at the scene. He left his DNA at the scene. That's right. Your brain swells and all the blood vessels in the membranes around the brain burst and blood starts to leak out of every available orifice. And it does so very quickly. Very quickly. Pretty nasty. Koberger, the mastermind, yeah. Left his DNA at the scene. Clever. Yeah, and brain fluid. Cerebrospinal fluid leaks out as well. It's horrible. That's right. It's not what we're back to cameras. It's not what the camera can see. It's about what triggers the motion. So once the camera's on, it might be able to see for 100 yards or whatever. But unless something triggers that camera, it's not going to see anything. So there you go. All right, guys. So thanks for joining me. Is there a possibility that he jumped on the back of the trash truck and Joy rode out of there? Not without being seen by the trash truck people, I would imagine. Defense will say it's not his DNA, it's a family member. All right, so they're gonna go for the third party guilt defense, that it was one of Brian Koberger's family members. All right, well, I will enjoy that discussion. I will enjoy that discussion. So one of his family members did it instead. So it has to be a family member who's the son of Michael Koberger. So does Brian Koberger have a secret brother? Because that DNA that he left at the scene is shares 50% of its DNA with Michael Koberger. So the only other people who could share 50% of your DNA is a sibling or a child. So did Brian Koberger have a secret love child? Oh, come on. No. I meant Michael Koberger. Did Michael Koberger have a secret love child? Anyway, in the Koberger case, they're all talking about phone data, aren't they, at the moment? They can talk about phone data until the cows come home. We know phone data is notoriously unreliable. And we know that he turned his phone off during the murders, so it's not going to come up anywhere, is it? So the phone data isn't important, in my opinion. The DNA is. The DNA makes or breaks this case. Where is my logic? You don't think that she could have hurt this child and got rid of his body? Then you have no logic. An abusive stepdad, to get real. You have no common sense. Okay, B. Harley. All right. Okay, I've got no common sense. That's just amazing. That's amazing for you to say that you think that Katie could have killed Sebastian and been such a criminal mastermind that she left absolutely no evidence whatsoever behind, and she was able to spirit his body away and leave it in a location that has never been seen, despite a massive manhunt for Sebastian. Okay, all right. If you think that happened, then go and question your own sanity. Oh, you have the power to tie me out. Congratulations, narcissist. Do you mean time you out? When you make silly comments, it's best to get the actual content of your message right. So yes, I do have the ability to time you out. Do you want me to do it? All right, I'll time you out then. I assume you don't mean tie you out. If you mean tie you out, then yeah, I could tie you up and leave you somewhere, but then I'd have to know where you were, and I don't really want to do that because I'm quite comfortable here, thank you. But I could time you out. Let me do that right now. Put user in timeout. Now I've got 10 seconds, 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, or 24 hours. Let's do 10 seconds just to prove that I can do it. There you go. You've been timed out, B. Harley, for 10 seconds. All right. Question is, what was the probable cause that led them to be able to get a search warrant to search the landfill? From my understanding, it's not as easy as just the garbage being heavy. They may not necessarily have got a search warrant. I mean, my opinion is they probably would have done, because it just helps. Like if it did become a criminal investigation, it just, it dots the I's and crosses the T's. Even if the garbage people say, oh yeah, come in, you can search, you can do whatever you want, even if they gave permission, they probably would get a search warrant. The mere fact that the garbage was collected that morning is cause enough for a judge to sign a warrant, in my opinion. The fact that the garbage truck was out and about in that very neighborhood that morning, that's the probable cause. Can anybody confirm that I'm blocked? No, you're not blocked, Anna. Anna, you're not blocked. Anna, you're not blocked. Fred Dormer, you think you're not blocked. You're not blocked. Nobody's blocked. I've not blocked anybody. I timed out B. Harley for 10 seconds because they wanted me to tie them up or something, and I'm not prepared to go that far. Yeah. I imagine the garbage truck. I bet all those garbage truck people were interviewed. I would imagine. So I honestly, one of my early theories was that maybe the garbage truck people hit him accidentally and they panicked and they moved his body. That was one of my early theories. Do I think that happened? No, but I contemplated it. Thank you, Sarah Girl, for the 199. Thank you so much. Very kind of you. Yeah, you can block people. You can block people yourself so you don't see them. But everybody else sees them. And then if they're timed out, they're not blocked. They just can't comment for however many minutes they're timed out for. And then they can come right back. But yeah, all right, I'm going. Okay, thank you for joining me. Thank you, as always, to the mods. You're very kind to help out and keep you all in order. We don't get much problems here. We do get occasional silliness, but mainly we're okay. You're welcome here. If you disagree with me, you're very welcome here anyway, as long as you're respectful. So thank you, mods. Thank you to those that donated. Welcome. Please don't tie you out. No, I won't tie anyone out. I won't tie anyone out. All right, I'm gone. Welcome, new members, and I will see you all. I'll see you all soon. Bye, folks.